This presentation may contain disturbing, sensitive, or controversial themes, topics, language, violence, or drugs that may make some people feel uncomfortable. Viewer discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the hosts and guests. They do not necessarily reflect the policies and position of Safe Open Space, its members, and its partners.
Welcome to CTC, where we care to chat about the issues and the realities that our community is facing today. My name is Chris.
And I am Cons. Join us in our conversation with our guest today.
Before we start, we just want to talk to our audience. We will be talking to a community member who is also a service user of Safe Open Spaces one-on-one peer support.
Now, we want to approach this with compassion and with love. Now, this program is all about healing. In the words of Jada Pinkett Smith, if you feel that you are in any position to judge, this might not be the conversation for you.
But if you choose to stay, we appeal that you join us with an open mind and heart as we explore and acknowledge our different ranges of realities. Our guest today is Gary. Gary is a community member who reached out to us to address his concerns about his drug use. Let us welcome Gary.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
Hi, Gary. Welcome to CTC.
Salamat sa pag-imbita sa akin.
All right, Gary. So kamusta tayo ngayon, especially in the times of pandemic and community quarantine?
Well, may mga pinagdadaan ng mga anxieties with regard the lockdown, yung pandemic, tapos of course mga health issues, pero kaya naman.
Kaya naman. So how are you managing yung anxieties mo nowadays?
Ang ginagawa ko is nanonood ng Netflix or usually yung pagrarant ko over on social media, yun ang parang way for me to release my anxieties, my stress, kasi ang hirap kasi kinikimkim mo yung mga salobin mo, yung mga nararamdaman mong anxieties. So para sa akin, it's better for me to say it loud or say it out loud on social media para well, at least ma-relieve naman yung anxieties and stress.
Right, napansin ko yung sa background mo, we have faith, peace, love, and ano yung isa, yung nasa likod? Yung talaga pinansin ko,
Joy, love, peace, and faith.
And and about those things sa likod natin, do we find that right now?
Joy, meron din naman. May mga instances na I find joy. It sparks joy, parang si Marie Kondo lang. If you do something, if you have something or you do something, if it sparks joy, then keep it or continue doing it. Peace, may mga times naman na I'm not at peace with myself or with the people around me or situations. Pero it's hindi naman lagi, parang it's may mga instances lang talaga na I don't feel any peace at all. Faith, love, of course, I feel the love of many people, sa family, sa friends, sa mga fans daw. Sa mga only fans. Faith, may mga pagkakataon na yung faith ko can get tested by situations na I have no control over, or yung mga situations na biglang dumadating sa akin that would test my faith. So, pero as much as possible, I try to keep my faith and my belief. So yun.
So, siguro, well, what I feel right now in comparison to when I first reached out, or when we first talked, no, medyo mas nasa positive yung emotion mo and yung outlook mo. Balikan natin kung paano ka na-engage ng SOS. And before we started the one-on-one peer support process, how did you first hear about SOS? Ikwento mo sa amin and to our viewers right now.
Actually, it was he's a very close friend, and he was the one who reached out to me kasi is yung mga nag-create ng mga chat groups on. So sinabihan niya ako na if I wanted to attend a legal literacy online training. So prior to that pala, he was inviting me to a meeting here in, pero hindi ako makapag set aside ng time. Nakalimutan ko na yung reason as to why I couldn't attend the meeting. And then a few months after, he mentioned that it was a meeting of Safe Open Space. It's a group that they're trying to organize. I think that was the one where the late Doms attended along with, he was accompanied then by, so yun. And then a few months after, in-invite na naman ako ni to join the LLOT, which is organized by SOS. Tapos, well, at that time, kasi it was June, di ba? So it was in the middle of the pandemic. So since I had the time, I said yes. So yun, nakapag-attend akong ng legal literacy online training.
So, so you had that time. Bakit tayo nagkaroon ng time, ng mga time na yun?
Kasi wala akong ginagawa, wala akong trabaho noon. So, to make use of my time, since wala naman akong ginagawa, I might as well attend it. And nasabi ko naman sa sarili ko, there's no harm in joining the activity, or siguro kung ano man mga learnings that I can get from the training, pwede ko siyang ma-practice, or ma-practice in my life, in my dealings with other people.
So wala kang work noon.
Yes.
Pero ngayon, tumusta na? May work na?
Yes, may work na ako. I'm involved with a that serves PLHIVs and PVIDs, among other key populations.
That's great to hear, no? Involved siya sa community right now, and that's actually a very nice, fresh atmosphere na from that, tapos bigla from last year na wala kang trabaho. And sa panahon na meron tayong unemployment, nakakuha siya ng opportunity to
yes, and yung yung work niya is within the community. It's for the community eh. Yun yung maganda nun, di ba? It's a good thing.
Totoo.
So kamusta naman yung trabaho natin?
So far, so good. May mga times na nakaka-overwhelm yung mga responsibilities tsaka yung mga tasks uh, in relation to my job. If there's one thing that someone in the community had told me was to not overthink. Kasi if you overthink it, parang mas ma-overwhelm ka by the responsibilities and tasks involved. Siguro, it's better to take it a day at a time or do a specific task one at a time, hindi yung sabay-sabay. It's not like kasi nung when I was in the corporate world, yung bang multitasking can be may mga times talaga that you have to multitask. It's not like if you're involved in where the pace is slower and well, less stressful. Now parang you are given the chance to do your tasks one at a time or hindi yung sabay-sabay para hindi ka ma-overwhelm.
Alright, so balikan natin no yung yung part ng yung training ba yun? Tama ba? With SOS? Okay,
Yeah.
balikan natin yun. So, bago yung training na yun, paano natin nakikita yung sarili natin before?
Bilang isang PLHIV, ang tingin ko sa sarili ko is yung pariwara or malandi, yung it's more of self-stigma na kaya siguro nakuha ko to kasi ang landi-landi ko or I had sex with unprotected sex with other guys by not doing it safely. Tapos bilang isang PWID, ang tingin ko sa sarili noon is addict, walang control, pariwara, emotionally and mentally unstable. So yun ang tingin ko sa sarili ko before I attended the training.
What made you feel before na wala kang control at pariwara ka noon? I mean, it must be coming from somewhere, or anong experience mo noon? Aside from your sexual activities, are you doing anything else? Ano ang motivations mo noon for having sex or for doing drugs?
For me, sex was a way to release stress or for me to cope with whatever problems that I was facing at that time. Drugs was a way to escape from my problems, to forget the harsh realities of life. Kaya ako nasabi na pariwara ako or wala akong control is because my drug use at that time was siguro there was a time that I did it for every day for like 1 week or 2 weeks. So you can just imagine kung anong effect niya sa akin, not just physically, psychologically, mentally. So yun, that's why I felt na parang wala na akong control.
So, nabanggit mo kanina yung harsh realities.
Yes.
And you also mentioned that you are a person living with HIV. May factor ba yung 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 nararanasan mo or yung perspective mo tungkol sa sarili mo? Does it affect yung frequency ng paggamit mo noon?
Yes. Especially na since wala akong counselor or wala akong case manager. So everything that I experienced as a PLHIV, kung ano lang yung mga nababasa ko over the internet, para bang kung sa trabaho pa yan, it was an on-the-job experience na trial and error. And I didn't have that much time to consult yung mga doctors at the time sa hub ko. So I had a hard time adjusting or coping with my status. So because of that, yung mga difficulties na naranasan ko, in order for me to cope with it, I would also resort to drug use. Yung drug use ko nga pala, it didn't start just a few years back. Even before, when I was still in my home province, I already did drugs. The first time I did it was out of curiosity. Tapos yun na, hindi naman I got hooked to it. Parang it helped me do my job. Parang I had more energy, or parang my so-called intellect was heightened. Na-heighten kapag I'm under the influence. Nagagawa ko naman siya, pero there are also times that I'd commit mistakes. Kasi nga 'di ba hyper ka. So since you're hyper, you tend to overlook or some things that yung akala mong tama pero yung pala mali.
Parang yung mga grammatical errors or yung
yes.
ganon.
Yes.
Pag nagsusulat tayo, no? Kahit naman...
Balikan ko lang ha, yung, kasi nga, di ba, you are in the, parang batang 60s or 70s, ano?
Mm-mm.
How were the drugs presented to you, to people back then? Kasi di namin alam kung paano pinisinta yung droga noon mga kabataan
campaigns
natin.
Noon, ganon. Oo. Anong campaigns noon?
Back in the 60s and 70s, yung drugs that I'd read about, yung mga nababasa ko over the newspapers, were mostly about marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Walang at that time, hindi pa kasi uso nun yung meth or shabu. And cocaine is not sold here locally at that time. So yung drug of choice among users at that time were it's mostly marijuana. So ang sabi nila marijuana would cause hallucinations. So they tell us na wag don't use marijuana kasi it will affect your thought process or cause or have hallucinogenic effects. Mm-hmm. So it was only in the 90s that I got exposed to meth or shabu. I've never tried marijuana except for one time na I was back then in my home province. Tapos yung barkada namin decided to try both meth and shabu. So you can just imagine kung anong I was sabog na sabog ako at that time. Kasi di ba shabu is upper and ang marijuana is downer. So parang nag-conflict yung effect niya na para ang feeling ko, yung mga iba kong kasama were laughing and or pero ako parang lutang na lutang as in sabog na sabog talaga ako at that time.
Pero amid all of the amid of all of the sinabi-sabi nila na huwag kang gumamit ng ganito, ganyan. But still, paano tayo parang paano tayo, di ba kasi sabi, don't use and something. Oo, nakakasama daw. And yet, aware tayo sa sinabi na yun ng whoever said so. No? So, bakit pa rin tayo gumamit?
Yung primary purpose ko for using it is to help me cope with my workload, and so I can do my job. At that time, it was not sex was not my primary intention for using drugs. It was more to help me cope with my workload. It was only here when I moved to Manila that I learned that it can also heighten your sexual appetite or your libido. So there was a time that yes, I do it for sex, pero just siguro a few months back, I now use it to do my house chores and other tasks, not related to my current job, but to whatever I wanted to do, like for example, write or
Naglalaba?
mostly write. No, hindi ako naglalaba. It's mostly kung maglilinis ako ng bahay, parang ganun.
A general spring cleaning, gano'n?
Yes.
So more likely, mas nagiging productive tayo tuwing gumagamit? Or
yes.
Yun talaga yung motivation natin, no?
Mm-mm.
So, kasi nga 'di ba, usually pag sinasabi kasi na pag gumagamit ay biglang gagawa ng krimen or something. So,
no, it's not. Kasi like in my case, wala naman akong inaagrabyadong tao. I'm not doing anything to harm others or to commit any crime. Mostly nandito lang ako sa bahay or nakikipag-sex sa iba. I mean, is it a crime if I use drugs para makipag-sex sa iba? I don't think so. It's for me to enjoy the pleasures of sex through or to enjoy more the pleasures of sex when I'm under the influence or whenever I use drugs.
So until now pa rin ba ginagamit natin siya?
Yes, I still use drugs. I still use chem. Siguro para sa akin there's a stigmatizing effect if you use drugs. I'd rather use chem or substance, yes, as a term, because there's this stigma that's attached to the word drugs. So I'd rather use chem. So yes, up to now, I still use chem. But mostly it's to do household chores, right? Pero it's becoming less and less as a stimulant for sex.
Gusto kong balikan, when you mentioned earlier that you attended a training, legal literacy online training. When was this?
Nung it started in the last week of June last year, and then up until July, the whole of July. I think it was held every Saturday. Yeah, I think it was every Saturday or every weekend of uh, the last week of June until the whole of July.
Well, how did the training or the workshop affected how you see drugs and how you see yourself now?
Yung training opened my eyes to what my rights were, even if I'm a PWID. Kasi yun nga, di ba, ang sabi ko na as a PWID, I saw myself as yung I had mababa ang tingin ko sa sarili ko being a PWID. Yung ang addict ako or wala akong control, meron akong I'm mentally and emotionally unstable. Kaya I'd resort to drugs. Pero after with the training, namulat yung mata ko kung anong mga karapatan ko bilang bilang tao, not just as a PWID and as a PLHIV, but kung ano ang it made me realize na there are different ranges of realities. There are different purposes as to why a person would use chem. Hindi yung it's not the misconception about chem use is that the people who are involved in who use chem would resort to crime, when in fact it's not. Because we can still be productive members of society. Now even as a PWID, I realize that I still have rights. I am still a human, and I'm still a person who has all the rights that are given to a specific individual. Hindi yung just because na PWID ka, wala kang karapatan mabuhay, wala kang karapatan na maghanap ng trabaho, wala kang karapatan na mag-express ng mga feelings mo. I am still human. I am still a person, even if I'm a PWID, and I still have the rights that I should have as a member of society.
Anong mga, well, share to us ano yung mga topics ng ng training na maaaring matutunan ng mga sumasama sa ganung klaseng workshop? Ano yung mga naituro na that it would seem na nakapag-transform sa'yo?
Human rights. First of all, I learned a lot from it. The types of drugs, and harm reduction, especially about the drug setting our framework on how I can apply it to myself and to others who would approach me for help on how to let us say control their chem use. So that's yun ang mga takeaways ko, yung major takeaways ko from the training, that even up to now it's able to help me, or those topics were able to help me and empower me to be what I am right now, as since I'm now involved in NGO work for the community. I feel more empowered now to share my knowledge and yung mga skills ko na natutunan from the legal literacy online training.
Yung mga nabanggit mo na human rights at harm reduction, medyo may bigat siya, no?
Yes.
Did it was it an emotional experience for you at that time? Meron ka bang naramdamang anxiety at any point in the training na parang you know, parang may bigat sa puso mo when you were learning and transforming as a person?
There was a point during the training that when they talked about the arrests or the current drug war by the current administration, it brought me back to that painful experience wherein na-set up ako ng isang ng police. Message ako through a gay cruise site na hindi ko na lang sasabihin kung ano yun. So nag-chat kami, tapos nag-agree kami na we would meet someplace and then slam, which is injecting drugs, injecting shabu, and then play. So makulit siya at that time. And then nung time na mag-meet kami, nag-message siya sa akin na magkita daw kami in a outside a fast food restaurant along Buendia. So nakita kami doon. And then prior to that, kinakabahan na ako. Ewan ko lang kung bakit, pero kinakabahan na ako. Kasi nung tinetext ko siya, sabi niya na malapit na daw siya. Tapos all of a sudden, yung isang guy na katabi ko dito sa left approach me, tapos hinawak na ako dito sa braso. Yung pala na set up na pala ako. Tapos dinala na ako sa isang waiting police vehicle. Tapos ang dami mga tao na tumitingin sa akin. So talagang hiyang-hiya ako at that time. Tapos yung pagdating namin sa sa police station, yun nga, hinaras ako. Sinabihan ako na kung hindi ako magbabayad ng 40,000 pesos, kakasuhan nila ako, did file a complaint against me. Tapos sinatakot pa ako na kung malalaman to ng office mo, so this would be a big embarrassment sa iyo, tsaka sa company mo, tsaka sa family mo. So since wala pa akong alam kasi sa rights and all as a PLHIV, naging I got scared. Hindi ko na alam kung anong gagawin ko. So I was forced to shell out 40,000 pesos para lang ma-release ako from prison. Now, it was at that time na after when we were talking about human rights, na it brought me back to that place. And I felt the love and support of the facilitators after I mentioned that. And I also found out na hindi lang pala ako ang nakaranas ng ganun. Siguro, had I known kung ano man ang mga rights ko or kung ano man yung mga dapat kong ginawa at that time of my arrest, siguro it wouldn't reach that point na makukunan ako ng pera, na something, it wouldn't have caused me trauma. So even up to now, may konting trauma pa rin akong nararamdaman sa nangyaring yun.
It is indeed a really traumatizing experience.
Iniisip ko nga yun, sana ako kukuha ng 40,000.
Exactly. I mean, nakaka-shock yung hingan ka and talagang they banked on our current fears. Paano ang reputasyon ko, reputasyon ng pamilya ko, paano ang trabaho ko. It nakaka-shock. Minsan sa kwentuhan lang natin siya maririnig, sabi ni ganito, sabi ni ganyan. But it is real. It's happening. And hindi naman dahil nga may takot tayong i-share ito sa ibang mga tao, hindi siya nare-record. Hindi siya na i-share. Mahirap siyang ikwento sa kamag-anak, sa kaibigan, or even sa social media. You mentioned earlier that you release mo ang social media. But and during the time na sinishare mo to nung training, did you ever feel na parang ano ba yan? Walang pa trigger warning, gano'n. Walang pa trigger warning. Gusto ko. Did you ever feel na gusto mong mag-stop ng training or not attend?
No. Kasi ako, I'm the kind of person who can be open about things. There are times na talaga no holds barred ako when it comes to sharing. So, ang feeling ko lang doon, since it was an open space, I felt safe and secure to reveal what I had gone through at that time. So, yung wala sa akin if there was no trigger warning at all, kasi yung bang ang atmosphere in the training was conducive to sharing something because it's a safe space, and people had been told na whatever is discussed in the training should only remain in the training. So I believe in that, and I had trust and faith sa mga kasama ko sa training and with the facilitators na it will remain confidential. So wala, there was hindi ko it didn't affect me at all na walang trigger warning.
Na-mention mo kanina yung about drugs at setting and harm reduction on how to control. Was there a point sa paggamit na parang hindi ka na nakakontrol?
Yes. Before the training nga pala, I talked to someone also from SOS, who unfortunately had passed away. And I told him about my microdosing. Which that same person also had the same problem with, kaya siya nag-seek ng counseling with a fellow SOS member. So nakatulong naman siya sa akin how to guide me. I'd still admit that there are still times I'd still do microdosing, pero it's not as frequent as before I joined the training. Now, my control na ako over my chem use.
Ano yung naging parang turning point na napapasobra na ako, parang I seek help na?
Yung physical manifestation ng microdosing, yung grabe na yung weight loss ko. Well, hindi naman yung talagang grabe. Yung bang it's now getting noticeable among my friends na I've lost weight. So yun, that prompted me to change my frequency.
Yeah. When did you reach out? Is it prior to the training yung pag-address mo sa
training?
Prior to the training.
Yes.
And was there any structure but at that time kung paano nyo in-address yung weight loss?
No, it was more like controlling microdosing.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much. There was no mention at all about weight gain. It was more of controlling microdosing. And then after the training, that's when I also reached out to someone from SOS to help me with my weight gain. So in a way, yung helping me monitor my weight gain also helped me decrease my frequency of drug use. Like before na almost every day or almost every week na I do chem, but and especially now na may work na ako, parang wala na akong wala na ako idle time to think about this is a time for me to do chem. So yun, several factors. Yung weight gain had helped me reduce my chem use, and then now na may trabaho na ako, I've got more responsibilities. Wala na akong or less na yung idle time ko. So it has helped me with my weight gain. And mas madami na akong kinakain ngayon.
Congrats.
Congrats, ha? Mas madami ng kinakain. May factor yata ang trabaho sa madaming kinakain.
Yes, yes.
Trabaho na kasi may pangkain na.
Tama. Pero, may ano doon may usual complaint or sentiment ng mga non-drug users doon. Wala ka nang trabaho, nagdadroga ka pa. I mean, what will you say to those people? Saan ka kumukuha?
Kung ano man yung mga allowance na nakukuha ko. So minsan I'd save them para lang makabili, or yung kung may mga taong nag-offer ng GB, I don't reach out, or GB or nanglilibre. Hindi ako yung klase ng tao na magpapalibre or yung would go out of my way and ask someone, uy, ilibre mo naman ako. Hindi eh. Kung may mag-offer, di, well and good. Kung there are also times na kahit konti, magko-cost share na lang ako. Pero minsan, sinasabi na, wag ka na mag-cost share, ganun. Pero never pa ako nagpapa-GV or never pa ako nagpapa-libre. Kasi, ang feeling ko kasi, since ginagawa ko to, dapat meron akong kakayahan to fund or finance whatever etong ginagawa ko. Bakit pa ako mga abala pa ng ibang tao just to do this? Kung wala. Kung meron.
So even if nung panahon na unemployed ka pa, may kakayahan ka to support it, and at the same time, pinaglalaanan siya just like food, parang gano'n.
Yes.
That's a good eye opener for those kasi usual na reklamo yon. Saan kayo, gutom na nga kayo, mga ganon, di ba?
Yung sinasabi na yung pang-ayuda ginagawang pang-droga.
And that says a lot about rights too, kasi yung pinag-ipunan natin at pinagtrabahuhan natin, it's also within our rights kung paano natin gagastusin. That's hindi siya madalas ma-realize. And thank you for giving light to that. Kung saan pala kinukuha. Doon pala yon. Pwede pala siyang paglaanan, no?
Yeah.
Is there a certain process? Balikan natin yun, no? Is there a certain process of getting peer support from SOS?
Process, yung pag-reach out ko before the training was, message ko yung isang SOS member. Tapos sinabi ko kung anong pinagdadaanan ko. So, if we talk about formal process, wala, pero it's kung sino man yung available or kung sino man you are more comfortable to share your problem, dinadaan ko sa chat or kinokontak ko through chat. Pero as far as formal process is concern, wala naman.
Parang raffle, no? Does it mean sa SOS lahat kayang mag-support ng peers nila?
Yes, I believe so. I believe so. Kasi hindi naman sila magiging member ng SOS if they did not undergo enough training on how to deal with clients, especially when they are approached with regard problematic drug use or chem use. If they want to reduce harm to their bodies. So, yun. My confidence ako, and I trust that they know what they're doing.
You mentioned problematic drug use.
Mm-hmm.
Paano nalalaman ng isang individual na may problematic drug use na pala siya?
Kapag for me I would say na problematic na ang chem use ng isang tao if nakaka-apekto na siya sa relations, sa family, or nakaka-apekto na siya sa in doing his work, yung frequent tardiness, frequent absences, wala na siyang focus, wala na siyang tapos yung parang wala na siyang pake sa priorities in life. Tsaka wala na siyang pake sa kung anong epekto sa katawan niya. So for me yun ang what I can say na problematic na yung chem use.
Nung nag-reach out ka ba, do you see yourself problematic?
Somewhat, I was getting there na parang nagiging problematic na yung drug use ko. And I was happy that I was guided before and after the training. So parang natutunan ko na how to have more control over my chem use.
So, how do you get control? Share it to us. I mean, not everyone here gets to have that privilege to going on a training. How do you get control from your perspective?
Second is mind over matter. You have to have determination to control chem use, or if you do chem use, and also avoid as much as possible yung mga triggers, especially if you go on social media at tapos you'd see slam videos. Parang alam mo yun, yung giyang parang na ano yung na-arouse yung craving mo to do drugs if you see people slamming, and also try to lessen contact with your source or people who you know who are fellow PWIDs. Yun. Pero first and foremost sa akin, it's more of will and determination. So there was a time na I was sober for more than 2 years. All because of sheer determination tsaka will to stay away. Yun.
Maganda yung sinabi niyong contact, no? Pero does it also work with contacts na, halimbawa, within the community who are using? Can you still control it? Is there a way to control it while remaining connections with your friends, or do you substitute connections?
I can still maintain contacts with them, but it's not like before na madali akong how do you call it? I am easily influenced to join them. Now, kahit nasabihin nila na or uh, uh, gamit tayo, ganon. So, yun. Kahit na may mga invitations, hindi ko na parang may control na ako over it. Na parang I can say no. Yun.
Matanong ko lang, no, kung sa tingin ba natin, yung paggamit ng chem, is it just a phase na pwedeng mawala lang over time? Or even for you, do you even see yourself na titigil ka na sa paggamit or something?
If you ask me that question, kung natanong mo yun sa akin before, I'd say na it's not a phase. Pero at this point in time, masasabi ko na it's a phase that I can stop. Kasi siguro as a person matures, parang may control na siya over certain phases in life na or experiences in life na hanggang doon na lang talaga siya. So at this point in time, I can say na yeah, it will come na wala na talaga. Pero if you ask me before, so sasabihin ko sa iyo na I don't have any intentions of stopping chem use.
So nag-iiba yung perspective natin, no?
Yes.
Na kung kailan, kung kaya mo na ba noon hindi mo kaya, parang ngayon pwede mong sabihin kaya mo na. And that, ano yung turning point nung pagbago ng ganon? Nung ganong kaisipan or yung ganong klaseng decision?
There was a webinar na sinalihan ko late last year. Tapos it was I and my fellow PWIDs had attended that seminar. Tapos may mga natutunan ako doon na certain learnings na which made me realize na this cannot go on forever. Now sooner or later, now I remember, harm reduction or the end purpose of harm reduction is to help the person overcome or stop his chem use. So yun, and then plus yung mga realizations ko na I'm not getting any younger, and I know that if I continued on with this will really have an adverse effect on my health sooner or later. So there has to be a time that I really have to stop. So yun.
What would be your advice to your former self, I guess? To your former self nung na nasa face pa na hindi ko kaya huminto, wala akong balak huminto. Ganun yung perspective ng former self mo. What would be your advice if you can talk to him right now?
Dear former self, sa ngayon siguro masasabi mong hindi mo kaya or wala kang plano tumigil, pero later on you will realize na this is just a phase. Regardless of the length of time sa phase na to, there will really come a time na your perspective or your perception would change, na which would push you to eventually stop and overcome chem use. So kung ano man yung mga matutunan mo, keep it in mind because especially how it affects you, how it affects your relationship to others, and how you deal with situations in life. Um, it can it can help you decide or come to this decision. It's enough. It's enough is enough. So it's time for you to move on from this phase of chem use.
May tanong ako, no, kasi nga, di ba may kanta na sabi ng kanta, pangarap ko'y di maabot dahil sa bawal na gamot.
Mm-mm.
Sa ngayon ba, naabot na ba natin yung pangarap natin sa buhay? Kung hindi man, naka-apekto ba yung paggamit ng droga? Ng chem, rather?
Naabot ko naman yung mga ilang pangarap ko sa buhay. With or without chem use. So, yung chem use naman is hindi naman siya nag-apekto sa akin sa pagkamit ko ng mga pangarap ko sa buhay. It's just there to as a recreation, or like before yung sabi ko, I use it to cope with my workload. Pero ngayon I see it more na lang as a recreation, and wala talaga siyang epekto sa akin in meeting my goals and goals in life and my ambitions in life.
It seemed that parang when you use it for work, parang nakatulong pa nga siya, no?
Mm-mm.
Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. There are times na nakatulong pa sa akin. Pero yun nga, because you're so hyper na parang na-overlook mo minsan yung mga mistakes mo when it comes to grammar, when it comes to sentence construction, subject-verb agreement. So, because your mind is working overtime or on is an overdrive. So minsan you'd commit mistakes.
So, well, thank you for sharing that. So, gusto kong balikan yung napansin ni Cons sa likuran mo, yung joy, love, peace, and faith. After that experience, how's your faith?
It's fine. Okay naman yung faith ko. Siguro yung problema lang sa akin is before yung whenever na gumagamit ako ng chem, I see it as a sin. So kapag when I go to confession, I ini-include talaga sa confession sa priest. So ang sinasabi naman sa priest sa akin is stop doing it or avoid doing it. Pero ang nangyayari is I'd still do it after some time. Until during or after the training, I realized that being a PWID is not a sin. Kasi I believe that no matter kung ano man kung ano ka man sa buhay, God would still accept you for what you are, and regardless of your sins, or your sins, if I'd call it a sin. So parang nakita ko na siya in a different light now, na it's part of life experience and should not be considered an offense, a religious offense. If you do, if you are a PWID, it's not. Kasi, di ba, God loves you or accepts you for what you are. So, regardless kung PWID ka man or hindi, I know that He will accept me for what I am. So, yun.
It seems that you have found your peace and joy in that, no? But what about love?
What about love?
Sorry, what about love? What about love? Ano ngayon ang pakiramdam mo? Do you feel um do you feel loved by all factors, by yourself, by your family, by your coworkers, your community? Nasaan ka ngayon sa love?
Okay, when it comes to love, of course, hindi alam ng pamilya ko that I'm a PWID. Ang alam nila is PLHIV ako, but not a PWID. Love from the community is yes. I feel so much love from the community, both from the PLHIV and the PWID communities. From co-workers, yeah, where I work with, they know that I'm a PWID. So walang judgment from them and from the communities. It will take, I cannot come out to my family because I know medyo hindi pa, or they have this stigma when it comes to PWIDs and PWODs kasi yung isang member ng family ko is a PWOD himself. So the way how they treated him or how they see chem use is siguro hindi pa time ngayon para for them to have a more enlightened view of what chem use is. Siguro time will come that they'd be more open to what chem use is all about and the ranges of realities, the different reasons why persons would use or inject drugs. It's not to commit a crime, but there are various reasons, there are ranges of realities kung bakit a person would use or inject drugs. And it's not solely because, and it's not solely to commit any crime against a person or against anyone for that matter.
It would seem that posible pa rin magkaroon ng faith, no?
Yes.
Even after what you have been through, I know it's difficult. And for some, maraming nasa PLHIV at PU wood or PWID communities wala ng faith. How do you keep your faith?
I'd usually or every day I'd read the daily Bible reflections. So as much as possible in the morning, early in the morning pagkagising ko, I do that. I also pray the rosary. So yun, that's how I keep my faith alive. Kasi yun nga, it goes back to my belief that regardless of who you are or kung anong ka man, He would still accept you for what you are.
Thank you for sharing, Gary, and thank you for sharing the message of joy, love, peace, and faith to everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share your story with us and with our viewers. At maraming salamat. Maraming salamat sa pagsashed ng light sa issues ng community at ng society.
Maraming salamat rin sa pag-imbita niyo sa akin. And it's been a pleasure for me to share my story to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You. Last question.
Yes.
Kunwari nasa RuPaul tayo. May picture ako ng ang 3 years old self mo. Ano ang sasabihin mo sa sarili mo?
Dear 3 years old, be ready for the time of your life. Kasi madami kang mararanasan sa buhay, madami kang mga lessons sa buhay na matututunan na huhubog sa katauhan mo at kung ano man ang magiging ikaw in the future. So enjoy, learn, and don't be afraid to be yourself. Yun.
Thank you. Don't be afraid to be yourself. So salamat for being not afraid of sharing your story with us.
Salamat din.
Thank you.
Thank you.